Like the kind of the doghouse.
Okay, so a few weeks ago, I did an article for World in Sport where I spoke about if Alex Pereira could fight at heavyweight. Because recently there's been some talk about him potentially fighting Tom Aspinall. And Aspinall has pretty much welcomed it, said if he wants it, he can get it. And I don't know if Pereira said anything, but I think he has been. It was rumored, I think, at UFC 300 that it might happen. Obviously, it's not. UFC 300 is basically shaping up now. But it did get me thinking, because obviously Pereira was a middleweight. Now he's a light heavyweight champion, won the belt at middleweight, but he's always been somebody who just looked a lot bigger than what his weight class is. You know, at middleweight he looked huge compared to a lot of the other fighters. If you look at him compared to Izzy, you know, Pereira's not like crazy muscular, but he's got a very sort of wiry physique where he's kind of a strong, skinny guy in that you don't look at him and you think he's huge like how Yoel Romero was, but you look at him and you can see he's big, and it looks hard for him to make the weight cut. A lot of the times his cheek was sucked in and he just looked a bit weak at the weigh-ins a lot of the time at middleweight. I like heavyweight. He still, even now, looks a little bit like he could go this. If there was a weight class maybe between heavyweight and light heavyweight, feels like that might be the perfect one for him because he doesn't look as I don't know. He just doesn't feel like he always looks healthy a lot of the times at the weigh-ins, and weigh-ins generally do take it out of a lot of fighters. But I just wanted to explore this though because in the article I kind of used 3 subheadings as the main thing of how I feel he could do at heavyweight. Because at heavyweight, you've got the likes of a Stipe Miocic, you've got Ngannou. I mean, Ngannou's not here anymore, but potentially he may come back. Derek Lewis, Pavlovich, Aspinall, and obviously John Jones. All guys who are very big. But I think the one size-wise that I look at, I think he's really a horrible combination is Tom Aspinall. You look at someone like Cyril Gane even, who moves the way he does. He's still very big, and it kind of got me thinking a little bit. How would Poatan do if he did make that jump up to light heavyweight? I mean to heavyweight, and how would he match up against a lot of the other heavyweights? And I focused on 3 things pretty much with Pereira going up, and that was Pereira's style, his physique, and his power, and how all 3 would match up at heavyweight. Because if I first look at his physique, if you look at the way Pereira is, like I said, he's a what you would call a strong, skinny guy in that physically he's not a crazy muscular guy, but he has that physique where, and these are the type of guys who honestly generally are the hard hitters and guys you don't want to get hit by. If you look at Deontay Wilder in boxing, it's similar. Wilder is in brilliant shape, but he hasn't got like the physique of like Anthony Joshua. He's just got big arms and big shoulders. He's great shape. He has the physique almost of a basketball player, and I think if you look at the way Wilder hits, these are the type of guys who they're not crazy muscular, but they do have enough there. There's almost an athletic physique to them. That's what Pereira has, and Pereira, I think if you look at the way he is, he hasn't got a lot of muscle mass, so he doesn't really tire that much. The only time he tires is if you probably were able to take him to the ground and wear him out with the wrestling and the grappling, because even though he's probably worked on it with Glover, he still isn't completely there yet. But if you also look at his physique, he hasn't got the physique that will make him tire out, but he does swing a lot, and naturally, if he can't catch you, then that is how he will tire. But one thing about Pereira, he's a powerful fighter, but he's not a reckless fighter. He will do stuff and set traps in there. Even against Izzy, even though he got caught whilst he was trying to go for Izzy, ultimately he wasn't the worst idea because Izzy was up against the fence. He'd hurt his leg, so there was a lot of encouraging signs that maybe could suggest that he could, or maybe swept him for the kill. But in regards to his physique, though, he's physically, like I said, not a lot of more muscle mass, but he's also got a very long frame, which is why I think the power of Pereira is interesting. It's a genetic thing. You don't learn how to hit hard. You always had it, and Pereira's always had it. And if you look at him, he hasn't really got any like crazy features that you look at and think, like for example, John Jones. John Jones has a very, very like skinny legs, but his upper body is deceptively very strong. Especially if you ever look at John Jones' chest and shoulders, a lot of the time the power does come from your shoulders, and I feel with Pereira, his traps are quite big, but there's nothing really crazy about him physically. I would say as well with the likes of Jones, obviously he does come from a family of American footballers, so that is kind of where the a lot of the power would come from. Again, it's genetic a lot of the time. But with Pereira, he's very much got a lean frame. It's nothing crazy, but he also isn't skinny. I don't want to say skinny because it's the wrong term, but with Izzy, for example, Adesanya's got he's a big guy and he's in good shape, but he's never like crazy muscular. He talks about being skinny, but he just has a very like lanky frame, which means that the muscle mass doesn't go all the way. If you look at Usman, for example, very big, he's built like a tank, and Ngannou's similar. I mean, Ngannou's the biggest problem one you could find, but Izzy doesn't have that. But Pereira is very much in the middle. He's not skinny, but he's also not crazy big. So I feel like his physique at heavyweight, he wouldn't really gas that much quicker, I think, than you would at light heavyweight or at middleweight, because I think yeah, you would obviously tire more the more heavy you go, but I don't think Pereira would be a guy who would have to put on crazy size like Ngannou. I forget what it was. I want to say it's like 265 against Stipe, but I have to check it. I think with somebody like Pereira, I don't think it makes much sense for him to really go that much bigger. Like Ngannou, I found here is 263, and Stipe weighed at 234 on the night when they fought each other, and I think about 234 could be good for Pereira, maybe a bit lower. Ultimately, I think when you're a heavyweight, it's the one advantage they do have. They can not pick what weight they're coming at, but obviously they have the option to come in heavier or lighter. So I think for Pereira, he would definitely be coming from the other weight classes. They'd definitely be more of a lighter heavyweight, and I think that would definitely help him if he ever made the jump up to heavyweight. So that was it on the physique, though. I felt like his physique could work. Now, the power is the big thing with Poatan, because obviously he has probably some of the most destructive one-punch knockout power in the whole of the sport, and his knockouts aren't just your typical knockouts. When he hits guys, you can see they feel it. I mean, he hurt Izzy with the left hook and stopped him. He knocked him out with the left hook, obviously, in kickboxing. He knocked Prohaska down with the left hook. The left hook is really his money punch, but his right hand is vicious as well. With both hands, he's deadly. And that's where I say, these skinny guys who are a bit muscular, they're the ones you don't want to get hit by, because they are the hard hitters. There's a difference between having guys who are heavy-handed and then guys who are hard hitters. If I look at somebody such as maybe a Deontay Wilder, he's a hard hitter, but then you look at somebody like Anthony Joshua, he's heavy-handed. In MMA, if you look at somebody, for example, maybe look at Paulo Costa. He's a heavy-handed. He has power in those hands. But then you look at somebody like a Pereira. It's a hard hitter. Same thing with Yoel Romero. He's a hard hitter. And Romero has the explosiveness as well, which is another thing that Pereira has, which I think he could lose if he goes to heavyweight. That explosiveness just to pounce on people. Because naturally, you're not going to move as fast as a heavyweight as you are in the lower weight classes. And also, a lot of these guys, heavyweights now, they are very good movers. I think Pereira against the Pavlovich or Derek Lewis could pose a threat against lots of Jones, Cyril Gane, Tom Aspinall, even maybe Stipe. I think he'd struggle to really get anything off or surprise them or hit them with a shot that they don't see coming, simply because these guys can move. And Jones, even though we didn't really see it much in his last fight because it was very short, Jones supposedly said he was still moving like a light heavyweight when he was fighting at heavyweight. So I definitely think his explosiveness won't be there, but the power is interesting because the power has carried from middleweight to light heavyweight, and Pereira's power is the type of power that you kind of feel would carry up to heavyweight as well, simply because he's a big hard hitter. It's something with the bones in his hand. I don't know what it is with these hard hitters, but they hit people and they just stay hit. And I don't know, really, truthfully, I can't imagine John Jones eats a left hook from Pereira and just takes it like it's nothing. Same thing with Tom Aspinall. I could see his power carrying. It may not have the most destructive effect on guys, but ultimately I think his power could carry. But the problem with Pereira, if his power doesn't carry the same way up the weight divisions, I do feel like that's where you could see him be a bit exposed, because ultimately he still fights as a kickboxer. He rarely, shoots for takedowns. In the clinch, he's good, but there isn't much we've seen from Poatan where he's really shown a wide, diverse game. And I feel as if with Pereira, again, I feel his power would carry, but I don't think it would have the same effect on guys. I think if he hits Cyril Gane with the right hand, maybe Cyril Gane's a bad example actually, because he has been hit a few times. If he hits Tom Aspinall with the right hand, I think Aspinall would respect it, but I don't think it would have the same effect that it does on these guys are lightweights, because ultimately he is a small guy, Pereira, for a heavyweight, and that sort of idea will discourage or encourage guys like Aspinall to come forward and try and march Pereira down. So I don't know really how he would fare in that aspect, but I think his power is the main thing that I'm looking at here. How does that carry? But I don't know if it really does carry all that weight, simply because it's just a big leap. He was fighting at middleweight and then going up to heavyweight. If that power carries all the way up, I don't know. It's just I don't know, biologically, genetically, it's just a hard thing to imagine. But I definitely think that his sneakiness is what could catch heavyweights out, as opposed to just his power, because he does set traps very well. He did it against Prohaska, and I forget who he knocked out when he did this, but I remember he threw a body kick to someone, then followed up with a left hook, and he's very sneaky, Pereira, just because he's powerful. People kind of underestimate his fight IQ. He's very, very good at setting traps. And then the last thing I focused on in the article was his style. His Poatan style is to kind of stay on the outside, chew your leg up. He has a very unique way of throwing calf kicks at you. He's almost as if he's just stepping forward, but once he steps forward, he kicks you. It's hard, and Prohaska's leg was massively chewed up in that fight. Izzy hurt his leg both times in the fight against him, and Izzy's somebody himself who knows how to chew up a leg, so it says a lot that nobody really has been able to counter these leg kicks so far. And for a heavyweight, hypothetically, these are guys who don't move as well as middleweights or like heavyweights. Hypothetically, if he starts chewing your leg up, because it doesn't take a lot for your leg to get beat up, and if he gets you about 3 or 4 solid ones, and maybe you're slowing down, and then that's when Pereira's speed, because one thing he does have, Pereira, if he comes up to heavyweight, will be the speed advantage over everybody, because naturally you are taking the speed from the weight class up with you. You see it with so many fighters. Even when you saw, for example, McGregor, when he went up to lightweight, he kind of had that featherweight speed up with him. When you saw, you could kind of include Chimaev in this. He has kind of taken up that speed with him to middleweight still, but he didn't really show crazy hand speed anyway, or any speed in general when he was at welterweight. You've seen with Volkanovski, even when he went to lightweight against Makhachev, he still had the fast hands. So this speed does sort of carry throughout the weight classes. Naturally, when you go up against guys who are quicker than you, it's only going to be an advantage when you do go up and face a guy who's heavier than you. So yeah, I personally think that the speed will be there for Pereira, and if he can just chew up the leg, you almost become a sitting duck, and that's where Pereira's style of kind of walking forward, marching you down, looking to land the big shots, that's when it will really come into play. But I do wonder though how Pereira would handle heavyweights, because you've got heavyweights like Tom Aspinall who move like lightweights. Same thing with Cyril Gane. I need to see more Jones to really make an assessment of how he really is as a heavyweight, because we didn't see much from him. He does look big, and I don't know if he's obviously not going to be able to move. He can't move the way he did when he was younger in general, as age does to you. You looked at him against Anthony Smith, look at him against Santos, and look at him against Dominic Reyes. He still doesn't move the way he does, or did when he was younger, when he fought the likes of DC, when he fought Rampage and all these other guys. But I still do feel as if he probably would be able to still move quite well for a heavyweight. But I just don't feel as if... I don't feel like Jones would have that speed against Pereira, though, because Poatan is so quick and so light on his feet. Actually, I say light on his feet. He can be a sitting duck at times, but then there are times where he's kind of flat-footed, but then there are times where he does kind of bounce a lot on his feet, on the balls of his feet. So I feel like his style would actually work very well at heavyweight. The problem with Pereira, I just think, is his size. I just don't know how he's able to do. Because Pereira's a bully when he's in there against these guys. He's the bully. Nobody that he's fought so far in his UFC career has been able to bully Pereira. And this is where I feel he will probably be at a disadvantage because he's a smaller guy. And when a bully comes up against somebody who's also a bully, who's bigger than him, when the bully gets bullied, it's only ever goes one way, and that's Pereira probably getting just physically manhandled by a lot of these guys. But I wouldn't underestimate him because I do think his power is a type to sort of really carry up all the way and hurt a lot of these guys. But I do question how he would do against someone like Tom Aspinall, because Aspinall is just a different breed of heavyweight. I know Jones is the heavyweight champion. I honestly think fighting wise, Aspinall's the best heavyweight in the world at the moment. I know Jones is there, but I've not seen enough of Jones to say he's the best heavyweight at the moment. If Ngannou was in the picture, I don't think nobody's ever talking about Ngannou and Pereira, because I just think Ngannou is just twice the size of Pereira. And Pereira's big, but Ngannou is just a different type. But yeah, I'd be curious to see how he does though. I think Pereira is a type of fighter who could go up to heavyweight. If anybody is out of light heavyweight and have success, I do think it's him. But yeah, just my thoughts on Pereira potentially fighting as a heavyweight. I'll put the link to the article in the description below. Yeah, personally, I think he would struggle, but I would be interested to see how it does. But yeah, Pereira heavyweight, it could be an interesting one. Just my thoughts. And yeah, until next time.